Hi guys, sorry about this huge hair, but anyway, that's my hair. And today I want to do a book review of a book on crocheting. I hope you guys like it. So here's the book. The book is the Crochet Stitching Bible, and I really like it. I'll show you why. I wasn't really looking for a specific kind of book, but this one I thought was really cool because I like to crochet, but I don't really know the names of stitches or a lot of different techniques, so I thought this would be helpful. So anyway, that was the table of contents, and then here it shows it's an introduction about the book, and then it goes on to how to use the book. It's going to tell you, or going to give you a picture of what the stitch looks like, and then the abbreviations of how to do that stitch, and then the instructions on how that stitch is made. Then, you know, the brackets, what do they mean, the abbreviations, and the stitch diagrams. Here in the next page is the crochet essentials, is what they call it, which is the equipment. It talks about the sizes, different kinds of hooks. Apparently there's different ones. I've never seen these, but they exist. There's the yarns. It's gonna talk about different kind of yarns, and this is where, if you're an absolute beginner, this is really good because it tells you how to hold the yarn and the hook, and also how to start the stitches. Another thing I really like about this book is that you could actually understand the pictures. For example, in this one, for basic stitches, it's telling you how to do the chain stitch, which is just a braid stitch. So there's the arrows of where the hook is gonna end up, and there you see that it goes through the loop that you made right there. I feel it's really clear. Sometimes you can't. I didn't used to like books on crocheting because I don't really understand them a lot of the time. They're kind of difficult to understand for me, so I thought this one was really good at explaining or showing the pictures of how to do the actual stitch. So these are some of the basic stitches: the chain stitch, the slip stitch, the single crochet, and there's more on the next page, but I also wanted to show you that it also gives you the abbreviations right there, so that's helpful. Here are different basic stitches: the extended single crochet, the half double, and the double. Then there's the treble. This section is also great. It's called Basic Techniques, and that's just what it is. It tells you how to do one row and the other, and how many stitches or chains you would need to join those two together or continue your pattern. With this handy table, it tells you, depending on the stitch that you're making, to go up to the next row, it would be advisable to use these many chains. It also states that sometimes, depending on the kind of pattern that you're using, you're going to use a different number of stitches, but the pattern will usually tell you. So here it's just going on about how you would do the next row after you did your first row. So this one's talking about rows, and then here it's talking about having to, you know, what if you run out of yarn in the middle of a stitch, how you would continue it with another ball of yarn, as well as how to change colors of your yarn in your pattern. Here is seams, how to put two pieces of a pattern together, for example. like if you're doing clothes or anything like that. It tells you different techniques on how to do that and when you should use which technique. Then it talks about circles, 2 different kind of circles, how to start them and how to finish them off, basically. And lastly, in this section, it talks about how to put together 2 shapes or pickets. I think that's how you say that. So it tells you here some tips on how to go about that. Another really cool thing about this book is that it tells you how to do other tricks, I like to call them, but they call them stitch variations. So they tell you how to do things like a front loop, a back loop, how to make this design. It's what I would think they're like designs. Like this one over here, the raised stitches, where it's kind of like almost like in sweaters you see ridges. So it tells you how to do those. It also tells you how to do little clusters, how to decrease you know, in the yarn, and patterns. So this is what you would do to make different patterns that are really cool and are not just the regular basic stitches. Like here, how to do a puff stitch, a bobble, I guess that's what that is called, popcorn. Those are different kinds of cool designs that you could make in your stitches. Here is one called Picket, and that's one of the examples. It also tells you how to lengthen loops, as you see right here, using a different size of needle. So it goes pretty specific in the different kinds of patterns that you could make. So I think that's really cool. The Tunisian stitches, caring for your crochet, measuring it. So this is what one of my favorite things about this book is. Really is it's like an actual Bible of crocheting. It gives you a picture of all the different kinds, maybe not all, but of so many kinds of stitches. These are basics, textured, these are fan and shells, mesh, these are mesh and fillet stitches, open work and lace stitches, trims and edgings. So it has a picture of the kind of stitch that you could do, as well as the page where you could find more details about that specific stitch that you liked. So I think that's awesome. Just to show you more of what they have in the stitch section, which they call the stitch selector, is clusters and puffs. Here they have spike stitches, relief stitches, and I really like that it's not a picture. Well, it is a picture, but I mean it's not a cartoon picture. It's an actual real life how your stitch will look like. So I really like that. And here's more. They even have shapes and motifs. That's continued up here. And special stitches, which include things with beads. After that, after you have selected your stitch, then it goes into the stitch collection. So this is where you would go to, where you find the stitch that you like. For example, if you want to do a single stitch, which was found over here. For example, if you wanted that first one, number 1, it tells you that it's on page 54. So if you go there, this is page 54, and it goes into more detail as to how to do that pattern with instructions in pictures and also in the actual instruction form. And what's even cooler is that it has a key right here. So many times when I find crocheting books, it just goes straight into these symbols that I don't know what they mean, to be honest. They tell you about them in the beginning of the book, but then you have to be going back and forth until you learn them, and to me that's kind of annoying to do. So it's really cool that they have it here on the side, right where you need it, the page that you're looking at. And it's the same with all the other ones. So once you select the stitch that you like, you go to that page, and that page will look like this, which will include a bigger picture of the pattern, how the pattern will look like, with the symbol and the word instructions. So it's very, very straightforward. And again, here you have the key. That is very helpful, again, because that way you'll start to learn what the symbols mean. But if you need to, it tells you that this would be under special stitches, so you could go back in the book and say if you forgot how to do it, or you need a reminder, you could go back there and figure out how to do that stitch so you could carry on with your pattern. Here is the shapes and motifs section. You know, I got a book on motifs, and it had really beautiful patterns, and it also included instructions on how to do things out of those patterns, like, you know, hats, maybe shoes. It's really cute, except that it was really annoying to try to figure out these symbols, and even the instructions are difficult for me because I'm not an expert at crocheting. I enjoy it, and I'd like to learn more, but maybe that book was a little bit advanced. And anyway, so if I would have known that this had also motifs and shapes as well as a beginner's guide, I would have gotten this book instead. Towards the end of the book, here you have more abbreviations and symbols, so you know where exactly to go to if you want a quick reference. Here they have all that reference for you. So this is it, guys. Here's the glossary for, you know, for you to learn and to understand. Once you see it in another book, for example, you'll have a better understanding of what these words mean when they use them in their instructions. So that's it, guys. The Crochet Bible. I think you guys should get it.